Welcome to Delorean Mac Mini Podcast Volume 7. We're here in North Las Vegas to take a look at what my friend Paul has done in the most comprehensive series of Delorean upgrades I've seen in a long time. So let's take a closer look.
So we'll just tell Siri to go online and get us something to play. Hey Siri, play Danger Zone from Top Gun.
Very good, sir.
Playing Danger Zone.
So you can see we're actually streaming Spotify, but the UI inside the DeLorean is actually letting me control Spotify. So I can actually use hand gestures while I'm driving in the car. So I asked it to play Danger Zone from Top Gun. So Siri actually loaded the Danger Zone soundtrack. So I could still control that soundtrack with gestures and go through the entire album that I asked for, and or just ask Siri to play something else completely different and let it search Spotify. So basically we have an interstellar jukebox on the road with us in the DeLorean. So everybody asks me, okay, you have an iPad in the dash and you have all this cool stuff going on, but where is the sound coming from? Well, that was a trick in itself also, and I have to give credit to a mutual friend of mine and Ryan's, Patrick Conlon in Michigan. He is actually the first one to put an iPad in the DeLorean. The head unit is actually a Sony unit, and it's inside of this little cubby, and I just really have it bracketed and mounted to this back door, and it's solid, and I could close it up and conceal it just fine. But this really controls all of the audio. Sony had written their own app called App Remote, which works for iOS, and I'm pretty sure it works for Android also, which gives you the ability really just to change music via cell phone, either the driver or the passenger, to connect through Bluetooth or through USB to control the audio in the car. Of course, I had to take it one step further and hope it worked with an iPad, and with Patrick's experience and him passing that down to me, it works very, very, very well. Also, one other cool thing I'd really like to mention in Sony's App Remote is I also have full use of my cell phone. It pairs with my phone as soon as I get in the car. It doesn't require any intervention from me whatsoever. It sees my phone, it pairs with it. I actually have an icon on the iPad where I can actually hit it, and I have a dialer on my iPad screen along with favorites, and it is all completely hands-free via the same microphone that I controlled Siri with earlier to change our music through Spotify. Hey Siri, I need directions to Trader Joe's on Buffalo Drive in Las Vegas.
Very good, sir.
Getting directions to Trader Joe's.
So instant voice activation GPS while we're listening to music. Don't have to pause the music, don't have to stop, really don't have to turn it down. It really does hear everything that I'm saying and asking for. And several other features that we can go through as well that kind of go beyond navigation.
Starting route to Trader Joe's.
And of course I'm hearing Jarvis through my speakers back there. And we're ready to go. Okay, so also have a backup camera installed, and we'll run the app for it. And there's behind us, and I think we got Ryan and Ken standing back there, and you can kind of see their reflection back there, and we got a thumbs up. Works really well. Very, very, very good definition for a backup camera, and it's really a much needed feature in the DeLorean because you can barely see out of the back window with the louvers as it is now.
The Viper system I have installed comes with a companion iPhone app for locking and unlocking the doors and a remote start. I was able to hack the application's NIB files to give it more of a DeLorean look, and to access secret hidden channels on the controller itself, which I wired up to the door launchers. We also have remote start and trunk pop using Toby Peterson's Trunk Aloft Relay Kit.
I already have a heads-up display functioning in the car now. So far, it's just speedometer, and it is actually coming from an iDevice. The iDevice sits on the ledge underneath the speedometer glass and reflects perfectly against the glass of the speedometer. So even during the day, it still looks really good, but at nighttime, it's absolutely fantastic. You really can't see the iPhone down there, but the projection of the heads-up display absolutely looks fantastic. Now, I am implementing some Arduino systems into the car as well. I didn't want to just, hack a Viper system and then that's it. As far as engineering goes, that's cool, and we can do a lot of stuff off the shelf, but I still want to go further with stuff that we can't buy off the shelf. So the Arduino control, so far I've already developed a tachometer for the car that actually has teal blue letters that actually match my speedometer app that I'm running, which I'll show you here just to demonstrate it. And this is very Delorean looking. The fonts look very much like the Delorean logo, and you notice it's a real cool teal blue. So for the tachometer feature of a heads-up display, I've selected some 7-segment displays that are basically the same color, teal blue, and we'll have 4 digits right next to the iPhone that's on the dashboard itself looking into the cluster. So we'll have tachometer and speedometer heads-up display. One thing I did want to demonstrate also, some of the functionality of the car won't work standard with the Viper. One thing I've gotten to work with this that's pretty cool, when you actually lock the car, and we'll send the lock command, if you watch the windows, the car just received its command. Doors are locked, security system's armed, windows are up. So when you walk away from the car, even if it is Bluetooth from the phone with proximity to where you're walking away and it locks itself, the windows will also close themselves in case you forgot to roll one up. So to get the window functionality to work, as well as door launching and popping the trunk as well, Delorean, Northwest, Toby Peterson has some great products out there that he's been selling for quite a while now. The actuators for the doors actually came from Toby. The actuator for the trunk also came from Toby. And for the window functionality, he has a really cool module that you can wire into the window switches themselves that go between the switches and the relays for the windows that give us a little bit of control. In other words, if you're used to the one-touch windows in more modern cars where you can actually just bump the window switch up and the window will completely roll up all the way on its own, or you could stop it intermittently and then roll it the rest of the way, that's what these modules allow us to do. So after all the technology upgrades that we've done to this car, one of the main things I had to think of was lighting. Being the car was built back in the 80s, everything was incandescent and just dingy and terrible and used a lot of power. And if I left my doors open for a while at a car show or at a gathering or something like that, every time I got back to the car, the battery was dead just because of the door lights. So everything in the car is now converted to LED, from the doors to the interior lamps to the bonnet, the trunk, the engine compartment, even the dash lights are now LED, as well as the daytime running lights inside of these really cool HID headlight bulbs that we have. So I shopped for headlights to go back in this car because every Delorean has a complaint to where you just really can't see at night. The car is very low. The halogen bulbs from yesteryear were just awful at night, and you had no visibility. So I shopped extensively for a nice pair of HIDs that would actually fit the DeLorean's theme and lines and curves and just look like they were made for the car. And I think I finally found the right ones, and I love them. The outer bulbs are 8000K. They are nice white, project great light out of these bulbs, and also look really cool with the LEDs around the high beams that aren't on. Of course, you can't see these when they are on, but really gives a neat effect. The high beams are 10,000K. They're a little bluer than the outside ones are, but when all 4 are coming on, they absolutely look fantastic. Now I have a complete relay system going on behind the grille of this car. One thing I implemented is a system called a 4-high system. So in other words, when I turn the high beams on, which they'll come on here in just a second, and they're heating up, if you notice, the low beams don't turn off. So all 4 beams, HID beams, are on at the same time. So nighttime visibility is not an issue whatsoever. One of the biggest obstacles with putting an iPad in the DeLorean was space. Where are we going to put it? Well, thanks to Patrick in Michigan and seeing what he did with his iPad, he got brave and got a hole saw and started cutting into the knee pads of his DeLorean, which scared the hell out of me. But you know what? It was the only way to make this happen, so I figured I'd take a shot. And luckily, it came out pretty good. It was scary, but it came out good. So if you look where the iPad is mounted now, I'll demonstrate. There used to be two air registers right here, basically just, flip open and closed air vents, but it completely covered half of where this iPad is. Couldn't cover the air conditioning controls. That would kind of be, defeating the purpose. So we had to relocate all of this. So basically took the vents out of here, just reducted everything with 2.5-inch air conditioning ducting and actually cut into the knee pads here and here. And these air vents have come out of a 93 Mitsubishi Eclipse, I think, and they really do look good in the car. They kind of fit the interior so it doesn't look like it's, something that was kind of added on, but it does look factory. And as well, in these two knee pads on the driver's side did the same thing. Okay, and last but not least, I wanted to introduce CarPlay integration running on the iPad itself. Figured out a way with a jailbroken iPad to actually get the CarPlay app to run. Now, the iPad will have to actually do a reboot to go into the CarPlay system, but it does come up and there it is running. So if I hit my text messaging, it's not going to go to a normal text message. It automatically goes to Siri. And
would you like to hear your unread messages or create a new one?
It's prompting me if I want to hear my unread messages or create a new one. Create a new one.
Very good, sir.
And of course, it's going to ask me who I want to text, and it will
messages from 15 people.
actually send my text message out. So the CarPlay is really cool, and it really does add a whole nother dimension to the DeLorean system as well.
Paul, this is a really incredible car. And it's really nice to see someone that's doing the upgrades to the car that are needed in the area of Bluetooth and smartphone touchscreen integration. Because a lot of the new cars nowadays have those features, and it'd be great to be able to retrofit those to the DeLorean, which is a futuristic car, but it's still stuck in the 1980s technologically. We also have a lot of firsts in this car. This is the first car with multiple touchscreens, the first touchscreen launch of DeLorean doors, and it's the first use of a heads-up display in a DeLorean. This car is a great example of a DeLorean that's been upgraded for this new connected smartphone generation. It really does compete with the new car technology we see in new cars today and available through the aftermarket. And you really customized it with an authentic DeLorean style. So excellent job, sir.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Ryan.
So what inspired you to do all of this?
Well, I've always wanted to modernize the DeLorean. I mean, look at the car today. I mean, when I bought it back in '99, it was futuristic then. It's futuristic now in 2015. It was futuristic back in 1983 when I first saw the car and had to have one. So I always wanted to do something epic to this car, touchscreen. But 10 years ago, it wasn't viable. This is something we just couldn't do. We had big wonky computer monitors that were just too large to do anything. You really couldn't interface. And if you did find any kind of LCD type device, TFT or whatever, it just looked like crap. You couldn't see it during the sunlight. So, I just waited for time to tick along to where we'd finally have some technology to do this. And when it came along, by God, I did it. So that was pretty much the inspiration to do it. Just the car is so futuristic, it needs to act futuristic as well. When people see this, it just blows them away. Another thing that really prompted me to do this was the Las Vegas DeLorean Club. When I got around to seeing everybody and what they were doing with their cars online before I actually got to meet everybody here, DeLorean Weekend was coming up for 2014. That's before we met around 3 months before that,
Yeah.
and I told you I was going to show you something epic that when
you
DeLorean
certainly
Weekend rolled
did,
around,
man.
that I'd have something really cool to display. And yeah, the feedback I got from everybody was wonderful. But that was another one of my motivations. I wanted to blow everybody's mind when I got out to DeLorean Weekend.
This car will be at Car Stars in Las Vegas in May, and it will also be at DeLorean Weekend 2015, which will be in October of 2015. So come check out Paul's DeLorean here in Vegas.